Welcome everyone to the Shelby Township Board of Trustees meeting here on December 5th, 2017. If you could please rise for prayer. Heavenly Father, every good gift and perfect gift comes from you. You are a faithful God and your mercy endures forever. You have promised to bless the nation that trusts in you. And in the words of the prophet Daniel, we have sinned and committed iniquity, and we have done wickedly and rebelled, even by departing from your people and your judgments. We come before you once more, seeking your forgiveness, and you, O God, are our holy hope. Hear our prayer, and for your honor's sake, shine your face upon this nation. Give our leaders, all of us up here, the desire to seek your wisdom and the courage to follow your guidance, and watch over the men and women of our armed forces as they sacrifice for the cause of freedom. We give you thanks for all you have done for us, and we earnestly pray that you will help us become, once again, a nation whose God is the Lord. In the name of your Son and our Savior, we pray this prayer. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight, and I do just have a couple of announcements. The first one is a campus. It looks wonderful. And Parks and Rec, they have done a great job, as they do every year, putting those lights up. And if you haven't noticed, the church and the schoolhouse are lit like they've never been lit before, thanks to the good work of Lynn Wilhelm and the DDA, who have bought new lights for those two buildings. And who knows, maybe next year we'll continue making improvement, and we might even light this building up on the outside. So good work on DDA, and thank you, Ms. Wilhelm. Also, we've got Christmas Aglow coming up, and I think that's just around the corner. Ms. Wilhelm, you want to comment about that?
Sure. I'm really thrilled to be able to invite everyone to join us for Christmas Aglow on Thursday, this Thursday, December 7th. It starts at about 6:45, and some of the highlights are the Eisenhower Choir will be there, Boy Scouts, the Shelby Lions, Visit with Santa and Mrs. Claus, Walk on Polar Express, which is really cool. It's all lit up out there. You can make some free crafts. There's a lot of parking. We're going to have tours of the Andrews Schoolhouse. You can roast marshmallows and go on the Polar Express. They'll also have hot cocoa, hot dogs, and cookies in the Santa Snack Shop. But the really cool thing that we did this year is we had our coloring contest, which we announced a couple weeks ago, and we chose our 3 winners today. So I want to introduce the 3 winners and show you their works of art. The first is Kaylee Asabka. There is hers. Jonathan Boltonek. There's his winning beautiful art piece. And Ava Hadid. And these 3 will join us on stage to be able to give the key to Santa Claus when he comes to Shelby Township. So we hope to see you all out there. And again, it starts at about 6:45 on Thursday night. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilhelm. We do appreciate your efforts, and it should be a really good event, as it always is. Next, before we start the meeting, I would like to call up Ellen McDonald, our financial director. What he's going to do right now is give a financial review, the year-end review of Shelby Township. It's, I think, one of my favorite parts of the year when we're able to hear exactly the state of Shelby Township, which I think you'll agree after you hear his report is excellent. So with no further ado, Mr. McDonald, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, Board of Trustees. This is, an annual thing that we have coming up here. The budget is always approved on the first meeting in December. So I'm up here tonight to go over the general fund, the police fund, and the fire fund, the 3 major governmental funds for the township. Looking back at actual results in 14, 15, and 16, the proposed amended budget for 17, and the proposed original budget for 2018. So starting out on the slides that are up there, we're going to start out with general fund, and this is just an overview of revenue, expenditures, and fund balance. If you take a look at expenditures, you can see, with the exception of 2017, which I'll speak on in a second, it hovers right around $16 million every year. The bump in 17 to $31 million is dependent upon the sale of Shelby Manor. That factors in approximately $14 to $15 million transfer into general fund as a result of the sale. On the expenditure side, you can see expenditures hover right around 14 to 15 million, with the exception of 16 and 17. Now, in 2016, the general fund transferred about 3.6 million for the district court into a separate capital projects fund. If not for that $3.6 million transfer, general fund expenditures would have been about 14.3 million. And then in 2017, your expenditures all the way up to 32.5 million. Well, there's several transfers that add up to roughly $18 million for various items, which I'll touch on in later slides. So if you back out those 18 million in transfers, you're hovering right around 14.5 million in 2017 as well. Fund balance wise, you can see general fund has a very healthy fund balance. Even with dipping into some of the reserves in 16 and then again budgeted for 17, we're still projecting at the end of 2018 to have about 11.9 million. Next slide, please.
Before you go to the next slide, I just want to point one highlight out on this graph. I think you would agree that if it were not for infrastructure transfers, we would have every year a surplus, as we have.
Correct.
Okay, but we've never gone into the rainy day fund for anything, any operational expenses, only for infrastructure, general improvements. That's it, period.
Correct.
Okay, good. I think it's very important.
At least in the last several years.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Looking at the detail, next slide, please. Looking at the revenue detail for general fund, you can see the blue line that's on there. The intergovernmental is predominantly the main source of revenue for general fund. That's the state shared revenue we get from the state of Michigan. You can see, it increases slightly, 15, 16, 17, 18. That blip in 14 was due to an accounting change. We ended up recognizing 7 state shared revenue payments that year as revenue, as opposed to the usual 6 that we see every year. Property taxes for general fund makes up about 20% of the general fund revenue, and you can see, again, 15, 16, 17, 18, that red line there has been increasing slightly as the taxable value has been going up each year. The dip from 14 to 15 was when general fund in 15 ended up shifting 0.18 mils to the police fund, which is the value of about $500,000. Outside of that, everything is fairly consistent from year to year, with the exception of that other line, and I had briefly talked about that before. That is essentially the money coming into general fund pending the sale of Shelby Manor. Obviously, if the sale doesn't go through, that line will drop back down. Next slide, please. On the expenditure detail for general fund, you can see, and you'll see this on both the police fund and the fire fund as well, that personnel costs make up the bulk of the expenditures for general fund. Looking at it, you see a slight increase from 14 to 15, a little bit larger increase from 15 to 16, and that's due to the fact that from 14 to 15 there was no wage increase for the general employees, and then there was a 3% increase during 2016. The big bump from 16 to 17, again, is dependent upon the sale of Shelby Manor. If that sale goes through, it's being proposed that general fund transfer $5 million into the retiree health care trust to fund future retiree health care benefits and kind of chop down that liability that's out there. And then the personnel again drops back down a bit in 2018. The other line to kind of take note on here is the other transfers outline. You can see from 15 to 16, it takes a decent jump up. And that during that year, that is when general fund last year transferred about $3.6 million to set aside for the future construction of the district court. And then again in 17, I touched on it's jumping up quite a bit because there is a $10 million transfer roughly that is pending the sale of Shelby Manor for future construction of the community center. Next slide, please. Looking at the fire fund, outside of 2014, which I've talked on in the past several years, revenues are slightly increasing every year. I'll touch on 18 here in a second, but 14, if you remember, is when the township closed the police and fire pension fund and fully funded that fund through the bond issuance and then the borrowing of money from the water and sewer fund. That increase in revenue is due to the recognition of the revenue for issuing the bonds. You see the jump, large jump from 17 to 18, factored into 2018, pending the completion of construction of the new Station 4. Old Station 4, the fire chief is slated to sell it and is projecting to get about $950,000 is what he's budgeted in there from the sale of Station 4. On the expenditure side, you can see increases every year. 14 obviously was a large year again, as I said, closing the pension. But the jump from 16 to 17, about $1.5 million, that is almost solely tied to an increase in the transfer for the fire fund to the capital improvement fund to fund the building of Station 4 and Station 5. There's both a $1.5 million transfer in 17 and then again in 18. Looking at the fire fund's fund balance, you can see they also, just like general fund, have a healthy fund balance hovering right around $9 million over the course of this graph. Next slide, please. On the revenue side, the fire fund really just has two main sources of revenue, property taxes and then that charges for services line, which is the ambulance fees that they get for the different medical services that they provide for the ambulance services. For fire fund in 2018, property taxes are budgeted to make up 75% of the fire fund's entire revenue. Again, you see the blip down there in 14 for the pension revenue recognition, and then the jump in 18 of that red line, the other, that's that $950,000 I had mentioned for the sale of Station 4. Next slide, please. On the expenditure side for the fire fund, it's just like the general fund. Personnel makes up the bulk of the costs, and you see that they're steadily increasing every year. The big jump from 15 to 16, that was when the fire fund, when the fire department hired 6 additional firefighters to staff Station 5. The other increases are solely attributable to wage increases and insurance increases. Really every other expenditure category for the fire fund is underneath $2 million or even $1 million, depending on what it is. You see the, everything pretty much is fairly stable other than kind of that pink line. The other transfers out, jumps up from 16 to 17 and then stays steady in 18. And that's, as I mentioned before, the $1.5 million that's being transferred from the fire fund to the capital improvement fund for Station 4 and Station 5. Next slide, please. As far as the police fund goes, they're a similar tune to the fire fund. Their fund balance is definitely not as healthy as the fire fund. They took a big hit when the pension was fully funded and had even several years before then been running deficits. Starting in 2015, they started to have their first surplus again. They had about $1 million surplus in 15, and then just under $1 million again in 16. But revenue-wise, you can see again their revenue is increasing. They're even more dependent on property taxes, which you'll see on the next slide. On the expenditure side of things, expenditures are going up every year. I'll get into more detail on that. That's basically personnel driven when we get to the expenditure slide. But we're projecting at the end of 18 to have about $3.3 million in fund balance in the police fund, which is just under 25%. Next slide, please. So here you can see that for the police fund, they're essentially entirely dependent on property taxes. For 2018, property taxes make up just under 94% of their total revenue. You see line-wise for the blue line, you see the jump from 14 to 15, that was when they got the extra .18 mils from the general fund, which is about $500,000 a year. Other than that, all of their other categories are under 1 million or well under 1 million. About the only other line you see is the red line, which is the other, and that predominantly outside of 2014 is made up of the reimbursement for the 911 services from the fire fund. Next slide, please. For the expenditure detail for the police fund, just like the other funds, you can see that personnel makes up the biggest cost of that fund. You see a large jump from 14 to 15, two reasons. The police department added four new employees in 2015, and also in 14 they did not contribute any money whatsoever to the post-employment benefits fund, and in 15 they resumed contributions, which is roughly $600,000 to $700,000 a year. Then you see another jump from 16 to 17 due to wage increases and insurance costs, and then another large jump from 17 to 18. I believe it's on the agenda tonight for the police department. They are proposing to add 6 new patrol officers in 2018. So that accounts for the large jump from 17 to 18. Outside of that, for the police fund, you can see just like the revenue has basically one source, their expenditures have essentially one source. All the other expenditure categories essentially are $1 million or less every year and stay fairly consistent from year to year. Next slide. This is the last slide here. This just basically touches on the change in fund balance, or the revenues over expenditures for all the 3 funds that were presented here from 14 through 18. You can see, as I touched on, in 16 and 17, general fund has a deficit that was actual in 16. We're projecting for 17, but those are both due to large transfers out for future capital costs. The fire fund in 17 is dipping into the reserves slightly, and that's, as I touched on, they're transferring $1.5 million this year and next year for the construction of Station 4 and 5. And then you see the police fund has had a surplus 15, 16, and is budgeted for 17. They've got a slight deficit budgeted for 18 due, again, to adding those bodies, but I'm confident that the police chief, as he always does, can find some creative ways to cut that down and hopefully come in with a surplus when we do this next year.
Well, a good job. And the only thing I want to add, and I think you've already said it, or at least you've alluded to it, is the operations of the township. Every single year, there's been a surplus generated. And if it were not for the capital improvements, and of course, you can't say if not, but if not for the capital improvements, there would be a surplus each year. So on that note, I just want to reassure everybody that the state of Shelby Township is excellent because of the good work that you do, because of the great work that the Board of Trustees does day in and day out, as well as the employees. And I really do appreciate those efforts. Last 8 years, we have pivoted to a more proactive financial management style. For example, we now have a 5-year forecast. So if we look at something we think we can afford in 2018, we don't just look at 2018 anymore. We also look at 19, 20, 21, 22 to make sure that we understand the full impact of that expense. The Capital Improvement Fund is something we never had before. We also instituted that in 2010. So we're continually funding that Capital Improvement Fund. So if you ever want to know exactly what are we going to be spending our money on as far as significant initiatives are concerned, all you need to do is look at our Capital Improvement Fund, and it's all in there. So the result of our works is that we are more resilient to vast changes in the economy, and we are ready to absorb the cost of the next recession, whenever that may be, and we hope it won't be too soon. But I can and I will still make the statement that even after we spend potentially $18 to $20 million for capital improvements, I'm talking about on the campus, we are still, and I'm talking about building infrastructure, we still will be ready for the next recession. And of course, I'm assuming the sale of Shelby Manor. Do you agree with that as far as being ready for the next recession?
Yes, I think that general fund, obviously out of these 3 funds we highlighted, the police fund has the smallest fund balance, but the general fund obviously has enough of a fund balance to fund it if ever anything did arise.
And building up these reserves, it's something that was done overnight. It's been done ever since 2008. And again, I want to say that the 5-year forecast and capital improvement fund are the two tools that really, I think, substantially help get us to where we are today. Okay? So good job, Board of Trustees. And Mr. McDonald, we'll have you come back up here when we're ready for the budget. Okay? And hopefully we will pass that tonight. Good work, everybody. Mr. Grote, can you take the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Prior to that, I'd like to recognize some students from Utica High. Wave to your mom and dad. There you go. Quite a few young people back there. Thanks for coming. Michael Flynn.
Here.
Stanley Grote here. Rick Stefficus.
Here.
John Vermeulen.
Here.
Vince Viviano.
Here.
Linda Wilhelm.
Here.
Doug Wozniak.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I don't want to embarrass you, but that Stars and Stripes outfit you have on is absolutely outstanding. And, I mean, I couldn't wear it, but I think it's pretty cool to look at. If you want to come up and let everybody see it, you can, but you don't have to. No? Okay, you don't have to. It's something to look at, though, everybody. It's really kind of neat. Okay, great. I want to thank all of you for coming, okay? So, and don't worry, you're not on camera. We don't do that.
He is now.
Yes, you
Oh,
are.
I'm so sorry. No, we usually don't do that. I am so sorry. No, I mean, I just had to say something. I've never seen anything like
No,
that.
but they look good.
No, I mean, that is really good. Okay.
Hey,
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda that has been presented?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Grote.
Move to approve consent agenda as
I see a few people getting up looking at a suit right now. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Move to approve consent agenda as follows. Minutes board meeting November 21st, 2017. Work session November 29, 2017. Move to approve the minutes as presented. B, cancel the regular meeting of Board of Trustees on January 2nd, 2018. Move to cancel the regular meeting of Board of Trustees meeting on January 2nd, 2018. C, 2000 summer tax collections. To authorize Michael Flynn, Shelby Township Treasurer, to enter into negotiation with the local school districts, which include Utica Community Schools, Romeo Community Schools, Rochester Community Schools, Macomb Intermediate School District, Oakland Intermediate School District, and Macomb Community College for collection of 2018 summer school taxes. Item D has been removed from the agenda. Item E, resolution to enforce last chance agreement. Move to enforce last chance agreement regarding employee 70129 and to terminate employee 70129. F, property and casualty insurance renewal. Move to enter into a contract with NICO and SAPT Insurance Agency for township insurance coverage based on the presented program option expiring November 5th, 2018. The cost of total coverage is $539,403.09. And G, bill run in the amount $378,429.62. Mr. Chairman, move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Grote, seconded by Mr. Wozniak. Please take the roll.
Stanley Grote, yes. Doug Wozniak?
Yes.
Michael Flynn?
Yes.
Rick Stefficus?
Yes.
John Vermeulen?
Yes.
Vince Viviano?
Yes.
And Lynn Wilhelm?
Yes.
Motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grote. I'd like to go through the agenda. If you could please put it up, Andrew. Thank you very much. First agenda item is a district court building, site plan approval. Item number 2, from my understanding, has been taken off.
Correct.
Triangle Enterprises will not be here tonight to talk about the property on the north side of 24 Mile Road, east of Van Dyke. So that number 2 has been taken off the agenda. So we'll go to number 3, Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals fee schedule. Number 4, Special Assessment District 34-S-2015, adoption of resolution number 5. Number 5, Special Assessment District 34-S-2015, award of construction contract. Number 6, proposed 41A District Court construction. Boy, we've been waiting on that one for a long, long time. Number 7, amended 2017 budget. Number 8, proposed 2018 budget. And those 2 items Mr. McDonald just got done covering. If you have any questions, now would be the time to come up. Number 9, purchase Stryker Power Pro ambulance cot. It's requested by the fire department. Number 10, purchase portable radios, and that's requested by the fire department. Number 11, new hires, and we're talking about 6 new hires for the police department. Number 12, adoption of ordinance number 280. And number 13, introduction of ordinance number 281. And finally, number 14, building authority appointments. We'll do that tonight as well. So that's the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
move to approve regular agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Grote, supported by Mr. Viviano. And any board comment, questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so residents, this would be your time, your opportunity for you to address the board regarding any of the items on our agenda this evening. And of course, you do understand that item number 2 has been taken off, so that will not be part of the conversation tonight. Your comments pursuant to board policy are limited to 3 minutes. And please keep in mind that while the scope of your discussion at this point of the meeting should be limited to agenda items, you will also have an opportunity at the end of the meeting to discuss a wider range of topics that relate to township business. Is there anyone that would like to come up? Yes, in the back with a hat on.
Mr. Supervisor, you know my name. You want to be greeted with us. That way, you know our names. We're the people that come here every day. It's not you or hey you. Please address us by our given name. My question is here on the district court. Have they got the DEQ approval as far as the soil test? Is it able to take care of the building of the facility? Number 7, too, about the amended budget. Is that going to be in favor, or is it going to cost more money? That's it.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about the name, but I know I've gotten in trouble with a few people that have called me. I don't know everybody's name, so I try to treat everybody equally and call no one by name. I'm so sorry about that. Keeps me out of hot water. But anyway, thank you for those questions. And I think the first question was a soil test. Is that for the new court building? Was that correct? Okay, I want to make sure I got that. Thank you. Anyone else tonight? Okay. Well, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I just have a couple questions regarding the SAD project, the SAD project. One of the questions I have is the interest rate, the 2.5%. I wanted to know if you guys could explain how that number came up. I know Millard stated the funds that they're taking to pay for it up front is currently receiving 1.25% interest. So my question is, why are we paying double that? Why would it not be the 1.25%? So that's one of my questions for that. And also, I just want some clarification for the SAD project. The sewer, I just want to make sure that anybody that is to tap into the sewer is a part of the district currently, that nobody else can tap into the sewer in the area without paying the assessment fee. For example, Churco has bought property on Hayes. I want to make sure that if they were to tap into the sewer, that they would have to pay the assessment, and then we would be like refunded the proper amount if they were to tap into that.
Great question.
And just the last question would be that I know that one of the properties were exempt, and I just want clarification that because they're exempt, it was the Stankus property prior, that they're exempt, that can they still tap into it, or are they not allowed to tap into it because they are exempt? Or are they able to still tap into it free of charge because they're not being part of the assessment? So those are the questions that I have tonight.
Thank you very much. Anyone else tonight? Is that it? Okay. Oh, yeah. In the back? Yep.
Clarence Cooks on resident.com. I have a few questions regarding agenda number 5 and 6, and you can include these things that I'm talking about each one. 5 and 6, both of them I'd like to have answered on 5 and 6. On one is who received the contracts? Who's going to receive the contract? What was the amount awarded? Did you go out for of Shelby to secure bids? If so, how far away? Did you go to Oakland, Lenox, Bruce, or further? Did you get 3 bids? And which one did you take? I believe the bids was too high and it was inflated or going to be inflated. What about tabling the agenda item to a further date, especially on the engineers on the federal litigation on Fazil Khan? And we knew we don't want a lawsuit. We understand that over Fazil Khan. We don't want that. And we know your vote was taken at a straw vote at the work session. So whatever you decide here has been already decided. That's always the way it is. It's not decided here. And which one of your trustees will have the guts to speak about agenda 5 and 6 that are very important? Not just a yes vote, but talk some. I know there's got to be some conversation up there. And if not, I mean, we know what happens. Just it was stamped and it's over. We come up here and try to talk about some things and bring something to you. But I wonder what good it does from the resident's standpoint when you've already rubber stamped it in what it is. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. Thank you very much.
Okay. I normally don't respond to anything unless it's really outrageous and totally false. So I'm just going to state for the record there was no straw vote, nothing's rubber stamped, and it's actually quite insulting. But everyone's got a right to say what they want to say. Okay, who else wants to come up? Yes, in the back here.
Bob Kogeman, 14510 25 Mile Road, Shelby Township. I still don't think that we are on the same page for the sewer district for this number 4. So first of all, I'd like to say I hope it goes down tonight, but I want to remind you that I gave you 3 options that could make it go a lot smoother. 1, the developer pays for it, the whole thing. 2, the developer pays for it and defers the cost to the people until they're ready to use it. He's the one who wants it. Number 3, put the pump station in the back, which wouldn't affect a whole lot of these people. Those are the 3 options that I gave you. I hope it was looked at. I just want to remind everybody that the developers, number 7, of which some don't live in the township, 8 people over there don't want it. So while they own 63% of the property, like Mr. Miller stated, they are less of a majority of the people.
Just out of curiosity, are you in a district for this?
I was in a district originally.
But you're not now?
I'm not now.
Okay, thank you. I just wondered.
But it's going to go in front of my house and disrupt everything
No, I
that
totally
happens.
understand. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Thank you for coming in. Anyone else tonight? Yes, sir. Mr. Churchill.
Really? Mr. Jeju wondered why you call him by name.
Well, because I have to call Mr. Churchill by name because he can't see. So.
Ron Churchill, Mound Road. Mr. Supervisor, I also want to talk about number 4, that where that sewer line is going in. I hope you people make a wise decision on this, because I'm concerned about the one property, the family that owns, what is it, a nursery or a farm or whatever it is, that farm, where they have to pay that $106,000. I just thought of something a while ago. You people better check into this because I believe if those people own that property, if that family, I understand it's been passed down from several generations, and if that family has owned that property, okay, now listen to what I'm saying. That family has owned that property before this township became a township, and you better check into this. I believe they do not have to pay for that sewer line, that $106,000. You people better get this right, because you're going to have a big lawsuit if you don't.
Okay.
Another thing I want to talk about, the only other thing I want to talk about is the police hire, the 6 hires for the police department. There's 3 things I want to know, Mr. Supervisor. 1, well, actually 4. 1, these new hires, how many of them are new hires because of they need new manpower, more manpower? How many of these hires are replacements because somebody has retired? And how many of these hires are to replace somebody that was let go for disciplinary action? And also, I'd like to know what is the current, if these 6 are hired tonight, what will be the current number of sworn police officers? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, time's up.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thomas Turner, Shelby Township. Item number 6, 4180 District Court construction. Have you got a plan, a blueprint, and have you got a projection on the cost? Number 9, how many of these ambulance cots are going to have to be bought for the fire department? And how much are each ambulance cot?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? How many what? Ambulances are going to have to be purchased?
How many ambulance
cots?
Okay,
got
Power
it.
Pro cots.
Got it, okay.
And I think Ron has asked all the questions I wanted to ask on number 11, the police hirees. Just that with the new hirees, what would be the total officers being hired in the department?
Okay.
And number 13 and number 12, what is Ordinance 280 and what is Ordinance 281? What are they aimed at achieving with these ordinances?
Okay, Mr. Huth will have that. He'll answer that when we get to it. Thank you. Anyone else tonight? Okay, we'll bring it up to the board and we'll get on with the meeting. Item number 1. Tonight we are going to make another step toward the development of a new district court building on our campus. And to accomplish or to accommodate the construction of the new building, the parking lot in front of the police station will be expanded to the south. And I'm going to let you take it from here, Mr. Glenn Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Earlier this year, the Planning Commission recommended approval of a new 18,000 square foot court building on the municipal campus south of the police station. Section 61 of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act actually requires the Planning Commission to review all municipal buildings and other public facilities for consistency with our adopted plan. The site plan for the court is consistent with the original campus design that was approved by this board in 2007. It's also consistent with the recommendations contained in the last 2 master plans. So the recommendation of the Planning Commission is for approval.
Okay, and I just want to make it clear, unlike 2007, the price tag is not $10 million. It's $5.2 million, big difference. Mr. Wozniak, you want to add anything to this? This is the site plan, by the way. There was a question that came up. Do we have a plan? This is it right here. Anything you want to add? Because I know you're on a planning commission.
Yeah, on the next motion, when we approve the bid for that, I'll make some comments on that.
Okay.
Mr. Wynn, though, I want to say, though, that this passed the planning commission unanimously.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's been a long time going. The master plan has been established. This fit into that piece of the puzzle perfectly.
Okay, so before us, we have a motion for the district court building that we've been waiting on, I think, for 17 years. Who would like to make that motion tonight?
I will.
Mr. Wozniak.
I move to concur with the recommendation of the Planning Commission and approve site plan number 17-07 to allow for the development of a new district court building on the township campus based on the following findings. Number one, the site plan is consistent with the adopted master plan. Number two, the location of the building is approximately aligned with the existing municipal campus infrastructure. Number three, adequate separation is provided between the court building and the abutting single-family neighborhood to the south to prevent nuisance and maintain privacy. And number four, a revised site plan addressing all department comments is required.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Wozniak, supported by Mr. Vermeulen. Any discussion? Can we take a voice vote
Yes,
on this?
no, we're going to need a roll call.
Go ahead, roll call.
So, Doug Wozniak,
Yes.
John Vermeulen,
Yes.
Vince Viviano,
Yes.
Lynn Wilhelm,
Yes.
Michael Flynn,
Yes.
Stanley Groth, yes, and Rick Steffikis.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is off the agenda. I'll let you go to item number 3.
Item number 3 is a proposed increase in the fee schedule for Planning Commission members and Board of Appeals members. Those fees haven't been updated in at least 20 years, maybe longer. Planning Commission members are paid $45 a meeting for the regular members, $60 for the chairman. The Zoning Board of Appeals members are paid $10 per agenda item. The proposed change is to be more consistent and pay Planning Commission members and ZBA members a flat fee of $100. Each chairman would receive $125. There's a significant time commitment involved in both of these two bodies to prepare for meetings and attend the meetings. And we did do a little survey of our neighboring communities, and we found that these fees are well aligned with our neighboring communities of Washington Township, Rochester Hills, and Macomb Township. So we're respectfully asking Mr. Chairman and board members to consider those changes in the fee schedule for those members.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Flynn.
I'd move to approve the updated fee schedule for Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals members. Members for both boards will receive $100 per meeting. Chairman will receive $125 per meeting.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, supported by Ms. Wilhelm. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in, Mr. Wynn. Number 4, tonight we're asked to consider adoption of resolution number 5 for the Special Assessment District to provide sanitary sewer services to a large portion of the northeast corner of our township. I know that our DPW department, led by Mr. Dave Miller, has been working on this with property owners to reach a resolution that is fair to those folks as well as our township residents.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I can make a motion and then I'll answer the first question that we got from the floor.
Okay, then I'll ask you to come up. Yep, go ahead.
Move to adopt resolution number 5, SAD 34S 2015, sanitary sewer, various parts and sections 1 and 2 as presented, and confirm the special assessment roll in the amount of $8,845,692 on a fixed basis.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, supported by Mr. Viviano. First question.
The first question was, where did we come up with the 2.5%? And we did address that at the previous meeting, but I can expand and give a little more detail tonight. Yeah. That's based the people that are assessed. They have 10 years to pay, so it's based off the 10-year bond rate at the time that we prepared the packet, and the 10-year bond rate at the time we prepared the packet was 2.65, so it's 15 basis points under that. But in order to pass legal muster and be fair, we have to charge something. So we went with the bond rate. Fortunately for the folks that do have to pay these assessments, the 10-year bond rate is incredibly low. It's probably at a 20 or a 30-year low. So 2.5% is a very fair and reasonable rate. Why 2.5% versus 1.25%? The DPW investments are governed by Public Act 20, are invested through the Treasurer's Office, which is run by me. Our investment policy statement states that we don't have any investments out past 2 years. Most of the investments that we do are commercial, again, governed by Public Act 20. The first line of the investment policy statement is preservation of capital. So they're incredibly low-risk investments with incredibly low returns in a lot of cases, because you're talking about government bonds, T-bills, you're talking about banks, insured bank CDs, and you're talking about commercial paper. Most of the time, when we're investing in commercial paper, it's a 270-day note. So it's, again, very short term. If you were to amortize that out over 10 years, it would be a lot more than 2.5%. And the same with the CDs. If you were to take a 1-year CD at 1.7 or 1.8, I think I've got some getting up. They're getting up there because I think there's going to be a rate increase this month if it hasn't happened already. If you were to, again, amortize that compounded over 10 years, it would be much higher than 2.5%. So, again, I think these rates are very fair, and hopefully that answers the question.
I think it does. Thank you, Mr. Flynn. There are at least a couple other questions. I saw you marking down. I'm going to let you handle all of them.
Mr. Supervisor, Board of Trustees, one of the questions that was asked are, will future connections be allowed to people outside of the district to the sewer within the district? In particular, they mentioned some property that was bought by Mr. Churko. I've talked with Mr. Churko's representatives, and they have been well informed that they will not be able to connect to the sewer that's part of this district. They will be required to take the sanitary sewer down Hayes Road to 25 Mile Road to connect. The other question was asked regarding the Stankus property. Back at the public hearing on necessity, we removed the Stankus property from the district due to the fact of the cost it would take to connect the house to the sanitary sewer across the Clinton River. The way that property currently stands, the same application would apply. Therefore, we still believe that it should be exempt.
Okay.
I believe there were a couple more questions.
Yes.
One about a pump station, and there's no avenue to get a pump station to the existing sanitary sewer without going through the route of the actual district. And then about the developer paying for it, I don't believe that Public Act 188 allows somebody else to pay for an assessment that is benefited to another parcel.
Okay. Mr. Huth, you have anything to add? I know you've been working hard with property owners, and since the last meeting, I know there were a lot of ideas floating around, and I know you've been working hard.
It has not just been me, but thank you for that. Of course, working with Mr. Miller and our township engineer, Carol Thurber from Fozel's office, we have reached resolutions with some of the folks that were at our last meeting, and I believe the resolution is fair to the taxpayers as well as those individuals in the district. So I would say that this board has been incredibly responsive in terms of giving those of us on the front lines authority to get the deals done. And I think that is why tonight, for all practical purposes, it's been a relatively quiet public comment regarding this site, because a lot of the issues that we've been faced with on this project have been solved fairly with the residents. So I'm satisfied with where we're at.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, Mr. Churchill was asking about the Deagles property and their business. Mr. Huth, would you care to comment on that and how negotiations are going and what's...
I will. I will say that I appreciate the efforts by the Deagles, their council. It's been a 6-month process to balance what they need at their site along with what the Michigan Constitution allows us to do. So with respect to their property, we have a framework for an agreement. I'm very confident that it will be signed soon. I thought maybe even by tonight's meeting, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's this week. And philosophically, just so the board understands, there's been concern raised by the audience, the board, as well as the property owners, that they do not feel comfortable charging the Deagles for an assessment for sanitary sewer service that may not ever be used by them. It's been a family farm for generations, and the thought is, if it continues to be a family farm, why should all that property have to pay an assessment for sanitary sewer? So what the township is agreed to do, there's a number of terms in the agreement, but essentially, if the property continues to use as it is, the assessment will not be levied. If somewhere down the road, a generation 2 or 3 from now, the property use changes and the sewer needs to be used, then the sewer price would be paid. And we believe that's fair to the taxpayers, the Deagles, and as well as the other users to the system.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a couple quick questions. Mr. Hoot, you mentioned that we came to resolutions with the residents affected by this. So just to be clear, there will be no charges to the residents. Is it to all residents or only Ms. Deagle's farm?
Well, the Deagle's farm is the one that Mr. Vermeulen asked me about. There are other arrangements made with residents with respects to trees, connections, and such that the township has agreed to. I will say that the way this is heading, and it looks very likely to end up, it's a unique project, and this magnitude will very likely incur no legal costs in terms of condemnation proceedings to try and acquire property easements and right-of-ways. So we've bent over backwards, and frankly, what that has meant is we can offer more to the residents if we know that we don't have to pay for legal. And it's not just my legal, it's their legal, because the statute requires us, if we go to court, to pay for their lawyers. So I think folks in this community are very sophisticated, and they understood that if we get to a resolution without going to court, the taxpayers as well as those on this in the district will be best served. So we've had good results, Mr. Grope.
I believe you did, because I remember when we started out with first few meetings, there were a room full of people, and today there's still a few people that I don't know if they're not clear about this outcome of this resolution. I know I had some questions, so that's why I'm asking. Is it true that the developers are covering about 98% of the cost of?
Yes, that's correct. 98%. Yes,
okay,
that's true.
And what is the proportion? Is it 68% from that they own the property? About 68% of the total properties?
That's the for the petition. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So 68.
82%.
82. 82.
It changed.
Thank you, Mr. Wozniak.
You know, I'm satisfied that we're not hitting Deagle's family with this huge cost of some $100,000, and they won't have to pay those charges until they're ready to tap in or they're ready to sell. There is, of course, a cost in doing business. 2.5%. I think Michael Flynn, Treasurer Flynn, responded very clearly what that cost is. This is not a perfect world, and I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of hesitation because I didn't want to hit the residents with a huge cost of the money that in many cases they don't have. But I'm satisfied that our attorney and Mr. Deagle did a good job in addressing many of these issues. I talked to some residents prior to the meeting, and they satisfied with the resolution. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to be voting affirmative.
I'm going to just add two things, just so I don't alarm the Deagles. This agreement deferment is in place even if they sell their property and it continues with the same use. So they could pass it by sale or will otherwise to people in their family or anybody, and as long as it remains a use as it is now, agriculture, there's no assessment. And I think fairly, you thanked Mr. Deagle. I think Mrs. Deagle deserves credit too, because she was very active in the process.
Well, and this is the information that I didn't have prior to coming to the meeting.
Okay.
It wasn't clear to me. I had some questions, and I think those questions have been answered. So I'm good with that, and like I said, I'm going to be voting for it. So.
Anyone else?
I have one more question. Mr. Schmidt, I see you in the audience. When we talk about property values and things like that, when they're building a house on a piece of land, it's the cost of the land. My father was a real estate broker. He always taught me that. He says, any piece of land is worth what it is at the market value plus any development that goes onto it. Typically, is that what? Would you agree with that statement? What my father taught me?
The issue specifically with the sanitary sewers, we're charged with not only estimating but supporting the value of the land that would be increased because of the sewer line. That we wouldn't assess them as far as property taxes anymore for that particular improvement, but we'd have to prove it if they were to appeal that assessment. that's what we'd be charged with.
Okay.
That's satisfactory to me.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to ask Mr. Huth, did Mr. Urbani, did you settle those 5 or 6 properties?
Yes, we met a number of times. Our final meeting was last Friday, and those matters have all been settled. He signed documents already granting the township easements.
Okay. And then the 2.5, that is why I think last week myself and Lynn, or the last meeting, voted no.
Right.
Until we were educated all the way, because that's how the road projects are done too, with that amount of money, the way they're bonded. So if we could have went lower, we would have.
That's right. Thank you.
So since the last meeting, this has been work in process all the way up till about 2 minutes to 7 tonight?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole team's involved. You're right.
Okay, good job, Mr. Huth. Good job also, Mr. Miller, wherever you are. I know you guys have been working overtime on this, but we just wanted to make sure that we addressed all the concerns of the community, and sounds like we have. Any other questions or comments?
Most.
Roll call, please.
Michael Flynn.
Yes.
Vince Viviano.
Yes.
Linda Wilhelm.
Yes.
Doug Wozniak.
Yes.
Stan Grote, yes. Rick Stefficus.
Yes.
John Vermeulen.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, good job, and more importantly, to all the residents who worked with Mr. Huth and Mr. Miller, thank you very much, and it went really well. And I'm glad I wasn't in those negotiations, but the result is there, and we do appreciate everybody coming out about as happy as could be for this to go in. The next one is the SAD 34-S 2015 Award of Construction Contract. Regarding the Special Assessment District, we are asked to consider an award to construct the improvements. The project was publicly advertised and bids were publicly open. 5 bids were received and ranged from approximately $6.5 million to more than $8 million. The low bidder was a Shelby Township business, Dan's Excavating. Their bid, $6,575,000 and some change, I believe.
6 million.
We wish.
6 million.
Oh, I'm sorry, $6 million. And it says, I do need some glasses. Maybe I'll invest in some this week. It says right here, $6,575,000, along with a hearing aid, right? I know.
A lot of people.
Okay. I said it, you didn't. But anyway, Dan's is highly qualified and has experience to complete this project. So would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I'd like to
Mr.
concur
Viviano.
with the recommendation of Dave Miller, DPW Director, and Fazil Khan Associates, the Township Engineer, and award the contract for construction of the SAD 34-S-2015 sanitary sewer to Dan's Excavating, Inc., in the amount of $6,575,000. Funds will cost will be funded by the Special Assessment District 34-S-2015.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Viviano, supported by Ms. Wilhelm. And I just want to reassure everybody out there that during all the budget sessions, I always wear my glasses, so there are no mistake in those numbers. Any discussion on this?
You only had one. You answered every question, Mr. Stathakis, except for one, and that was, does the township seek bids from outside the Tri-County area, and how so? And it's posted, of course, on the network throughout the state of Michigan for anyone.
It goes on Mitten.
Mitten, that's correct.
Right.
Yes, thanks.
And one more question, there was how many bidders there were, so.
I answered that. It's 5.
5 or 6?
5.
6, 5?
Was it 5?
5.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Viviano. Anybody else? I think we got them all.
Yeah.
Yes, we did go out of Shelby, and who got the contract? Yeah, I think we got all the questions answered. Okay, well, if there are no further questions or comments, we'll go ahead and take a roll call.
Vince Viviano?
Yes.
Lynn Wilhelm?
Yes.
Doug Wozniak?
Yes.
Michael Flynn?
Yes.
Stanley Grote, yes. Rick Stefficus?
Yes.
And John Vermeulen?
Yes.
Motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And again, Mr. Miller and Mr. Hu, thank you very much for the hard work. Earlier tonight, on this next agenda item, we took action regarding a site plan for the proposed district court construction. Now we are asked to consider a proposal to award a contract for construction of the building. For a second time, the township sought proposals for this project. And I'm going to let Mr. Wozniak explain why we went out again. But this time, 11 responses were received from the various contractors. Our township engineer has recommended that we award the contract for approximately $5 million and some change to the low bidder, Bronco is the name of the company. And as many of you know, Bronco recently completed the construction of a similar building in St. Clair Shores. Mr. Wozniak, I know you were on that committee with a number of other people. Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, the committee also included Laura Porter and Judge Shepard with regard to design and what it was needed in the building. I think everything's been consolidated because we went back to the drawing board a number of times. And back in February, when we first approved going forward with this in the Planning Commission, we sent it out for bid, and the bids came back way too high as far as we were concerned with our as-bid proposals. Matter of fact, most of them were over $6 million. Now, we decided that perhaps in this time of year, the bids had come back a little lower. We did some more design alteration. We looked at what was going on, and right now, the bid that we're going to award is for, as the supervisor just said, a little over $5 million. So we've got almost $1 million difference in savings that we've put together without sacrificing design or anything in the building. It just was a matter of timing on when to get it done. The committee met a number of times, and I have to applaud Ms. Thurber from Fazal Khan. She stuck with us and said, yes, you can do that. No, you can't do that. She did a great job. And I would say, even with the contingency amount, so we're at $5.25 million, if we don't use that, we're going to have a very nice court building, finally, on our campus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I know I've also been assured that it's based on not wants but needs. There will be no marble floors, no fancy wallpaper. It's going to be just a nice, clean court. So I'm very happy about that. So good work on that.
Was that a motion? I'll second it if that was a motion.
Wants to make Mr. Wozniak?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I move to concur with the recommendation of the township engineer and award the contract for the construction of the proposed 41A District Court building to Burnco, Inc., in the amount of $5,001,120, according to their bid proposal received by public opening on October 31, 2017, with a contingency amount of $250,000 for a total budget of $5 million. I did what you did, Rick. It's $5,251,120. Funds are available in the general line item 436-436-985-000.
Motion made by Mr. Wozniak, seconded by Mr. Flynn. I was only off $1 million. You were off $5.7 million.
Rick,
It's okay, though.
I
It's
have
okay.
a question.
Yeah, just one more comment. The bid went out to Burnco. That is the lowest bid, and they had built 2 years ago the court down in St. Clair Shores, and we got rave reviews for the work that they completed down there.
Hey, also, Mr. Viviano,
Is there a construction manager in place, or are they just a general and that's it?
No, they put everything in place.
No, but is there a construction manager, Carol,
I don't
in
think
place?
they had hired one yet, had they?
I'm sorry. For their company,
Not
they
the
will be
general,
managing
contractor.
general, and the project will be managed by Shelby Township personnel.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And also the soil test.
Yeah.
Did you have something to say,
go ahead.
Mr.
No, I
Hood?
was going to suggest that Rick ask you the.
Yes. So a complete geotechnical investigation was done on the site. Typically, those are not submitted to the MDEQ. The only MDEQ permit on the site is for some sanitary sewer being constructed.
Great. Okay, good. Okay, everybody, this is the vote here for the construction of the new court. So let's go ahead and take a roll call.
Doug Wozniak.
Yes.
Michael Flynn. Stanley Grout, yes. Rick Steffikis.
Yes.
John Vermeulen.
Yes.
Vince Viviano.
Yes.
Lynn Wilhelm.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Well, thank you very much. This is definitely some history being made tonight. To Fazal Khan and Associates, thank you very much. And Doug Wozniak and the committee, thank you as well. And to all the employees in the court and Doug Shepard, Judge Shepard, you just need to live with that taped carpeting, I think, for maybe another 6 or 7 months. And we will allow you to buy new chairs, too, in about 6 or 7 months. And can't wait. So thank you all. And thanks, Judge Shepard, for being so patient. Okay, next, we're asked to consider something we do annually. We have to amend our 2017 budget. Our motion will help the board adopt a budget that is consistent with the spending that has taken place over the past year. We appreciate the efforts of Ellen McDonald and his entire finance department team to help keep us on track.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd move to amend the fiscal year 2017 budget as presented in the supporting, excuse me, documentation to adjust for changes in anticipated revenues and expenditures and to adopt the fiscal year 2018 General Appropriations Act as presented in the supporting documentation.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, seconded by Ms. Wilhelm. Did you want to add anything to what you had said earlier? You gave a wonderful review of the budget.
I don't want to add anything, but there was one question, I believe.
Okay.
As far as the 2017 amended, whether we were amending it up or down. Obviously, each fund has its own budget, and some funds went up, some funds went down. But if you look at the overall township budget with revenues over expenditures, the original budget was a little over $2 million, and the amended budget will put a $2 million surplus. The amended budget will put the surplus somewhere between $7 and $8 million.
Okay, very good. Hey, by the way, I think we discussed this earlier, but maybe you may want to share the number of employees we had in 2008 compared to today. But also, we are building on that, so we will probably be adding a few more in 2018. I think you told me the number was 277.
So in 2008, November of 08, we had 292 employees at the township, full-time employees. As of the middle of November, we had 277.
Okay, but of course, now that we'll be adding some police department employees and some township employees, that number will continue to tick upward, but we're still far below 2008. Okay, just wanted to get that out too. Thank you very much for a great job. Any questions? Anyone? We sure been through the budget a number of times. I know that. We spent hours and hours on it, and good job to all of you who have taken the time to get this done. I think this time around, we got it done in about, 9-10 hours? Good job. Okay, you want to take a roll call, or can we just take a voice vote?
Yeah, we can. This is two motion now, right? No, number
Yeah,
7.
this is one motion for item 7 and 8.
Okay.
All right, so Michael Flynn.
Yes.
Leda Wilhelm.
Yes.
Doug Wozniak.
Yes.
Stanley Groth, yes. Rick Steffikis.
Yes.
John Vermeulen.
Yes.
And Vince Viviano.
Yes.
Two motions carries, yeah.
Okay, very good. And one more thing, I can't forget to congratulate and thank the employees who have done a good job, but also the taxpayers who come to the window twice a year and get their taxes paid on time. We appreciate you very much. Okay, and thank you, Alan. Thanks again. Number 9, Fire Chief Swinkowski is seeking board approval tonight to purchase a Stryker Power Pro ambulance cot. As the chief has noted, a review of work-related injuries at the township indicated many are preventable and are caused by lifting and loading of patients and stretchers into the ambulances. These stretchers being considered tonight have significantly reduced back and shoulder inquiries. Yeah, we can't afford another flag. That one's only 8 years old here. It's got some depreciation left. Tonight, we are asked to purchase one more as the township has recently added a new ambulance to the fleet. Can you maybe expand on that?
Yeah, this stretcher is similar to the 6 stretchers we bought back in, I believe, 2012.
Okay.
Obviously, it's an updated model, but it is just one stretcher.
One stretcher.
And it is a hydraulic lift stretcher, and obviously going back, 5 years when we first started this, workman's comp came in because we were having a lot of injuries, hernias and stuff, because, patients are approaching 300 pounds, upstairs, coming downstairs, and it's only getting worse. We have had patients, in fact, we had one that actually broke the safety mechanism of our old stretchers that was 550 pounds, and it just, and myself and another employee got injured on that. That was about 2 years prior to this. And so we've been looking for ways to reduce it, and this one purchase that we did back in 2012, which is around $70,000 for the 6 stretchers and the mounting equipment because they're hydraulic. We have not had a lifting injury like that since. And just to give you a retrospective a little bit, the workman's comp bill that the fire department had to pay for these injuries for the 12 preceding months before we did this was about $73,000. One person had to have surgery for hernia, and there was other like shoulder injuries and things, but we put it together, spent a long time working with everyone, and it more than paid for itself in the year since, eliminating, obviously we still have injuries, but not lifting and lowering the stretchers to get the patients into the ambulance. And this stretcher, while they are, it's about $14,000 for the stretcher, it does pay for itself in the long run for injuries and stuff.
Yeah, and I just want to add a couple things. One thing is that you have done a great job being proactive, as has Chief Shalide, in worker comp injuries, which overall the trend continues to go downward. The reason that's important, yeah, you talked about the money, and that's very important, of course, but even more importantly, as you and I have discussed, the injuries. We just want everybody to go home the same way they come in, which is healthy. And if we can achieve that every day, that means everybody's healthy, and that is absolutely number one. And of course, the dollars are there too, and that helps a lot. So our work comp injuries are down with the good work that you and Chief and also our HR Director, Lisa Suda, have been doing in the past years. And I want to thank you very much for the hard work that both of you put forth. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and make a motion, someone.
Chair?
Yep.
I move to concur with the recommendation of Fire Chief Jim Swinkowski and approve the purchase of one Power Pro XT cot and one Steer Pro from Stryker at a price not to exceed $17,590.30. Funds are available on line item 427-340-985-000, Capital Improvement Fund, and line item 206-340-980-000, Equipment.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Wilhelm, seconded by Mr. Vermeulen. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. One more item here. Next, I see that you're seeking to add 12 portable radios to the equipment that you now have to serve our residents. And we do appreciate your efforts to reduce these costs. And also, I see that the price has come down by almost $15,000 since you began investigating this purchase a couple months ago. So the extra equipment is going to be put to use at Station 5, I understand?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the portable radios we have, obviously, is the last few remaining have from 2000. They've been end of life. They do not work, and over the last several years, since like 2012, we've been able to replace the bulk of the radios with grants from the county back then, and we also had another grant, a matching grant, a couple of years ago to buy another installment of radios. Well, when we Station 5 went online, we knew we'd need about 12 portable radios for the firefighters that are going to be there, and plus for the equipment. And we started looking at prices, and Motorola, they were still roughly $4,400 a radio, but we had heard that there may be some special pricing going in place at some point, either the end of the year or the beginning of the year, and we knew we had enough working old radios that we could, wait as long as we can to see if we got the pricing. And what had happened is the price came out, which it will be good through March, and when I compare for the items that we're going to buy for the radios that go with it, it's a savings of over $1,200 per radio, and when you factor in that we're getting 12 of them, yeah, it's just under $15,000 in savings that we're going to have by getting these radios, which we need, but we wanted to wait as long as we could, hoping that this would happen before our radios all broke and we would be forced to buy them anyway.
Okay, so how many are new? All of them? Replacements?
Yep. Yeah, well, all 12 are replacements.
Yep. Let's see. Any other questions? I don't have any others. You from the floor? Okay.
Need a motion.
Motion, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would move to concur with the recommendation of Fire Chief Swinkowski and approve the purchase of 12 Motorola APX 6000 portable radios from Motorola Solutions for $39,795 plus shipping and programming costs, which will be added to the final invoice. Funds are available for this budgeted line item in 427-340-985-000 capital improvement.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, seconded by Ms. Wilhelm. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Supervisor, Chief, is there any resale value in the old ones?
Nope.
Gone.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was able to sell a few of the, would have been the second model that we purchased of these old radios back in like 2002, but back then it was only like $100 a radio, and now because of the program being end of life, in fact, maintenance isn't even available for the last couple of years on these radios. Mm-hmm. They're not worth anything.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for the good work. Okay. Okay, next, we're going to be talking about some new hires. Here, we're asked to consider the addition of 2 replacement probationary entry-level patrol officers and 4 additional patrol officers for our police department. Thankfully, due to the efforts of this board, as well as our police chief, Robert Schlide, and his department, we are able to add 4 officers to our department. If approved tonight, these officers will begin in a probationary entry-level capacity. And Chief Schlide has indicated to me that he's pleased with the quality of applicants that our township is receiving, and noted that many prospective police officers are choosing Shelby Township over other municipalities that are also competing for police officers, and that's very good to hear. Did I get all that right, Chief? Okay. Would someone like to make the motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Vermeulen.
I move to concur with Police Chief Robert Schlide and approve the hire of 2 replacement probationary entry-level patrol officers and 4 patrol new hires. Background investigations have been completed, and Emir Vila, Stuart Martin, Mitchell Kula, Nicole Sinistage, Brian Nicely, and Michael Retzler have been selected from the current Police Department Civil Services Commission patrol officers eligibility list. They will begin as probationary entry-level patrol officer employment no sooner than January 1st. The selection of these individuals was made in full compliance with all applicable regulations and procedures.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Vermeulen, seconded by Mr. Wozniak. Let's see, questions we have. I think we answered all of them. How many are new? How many replacements? Replace someone that we let go. I'm not sure if there's been somebody let go. The only thing I can tell you is that we've got 2 replacements and 4 additional officers. That's all we know at this point. And as far as sworn officers, Mr. Huth, do you have that information?
We have 65 now. With this addition, if they all work out, we would go to 71.
Very good. That's exactly where we were in 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Which still puts us below, correct, Chief? Where the national, how they rate them, 1 per 1,000.
The Southeast Michigan Council on Governments.
That's it.
The local entity around here in Southeast.
So we'd be at about 80 if we were on them.
Not this one, but the next 2 are local. We're going to do that gradually based on our financial ability to do it.
Okay.
So that still puts us below.
Mr. Chief Schlide said that we are going to get to 80 eventually. We're going to get there, though. That makes financial sense. We are, I think, ranked, well, for sure in the top 100 safest cities/townships in the country.
26 safest municipalities.
Oh, you got to come up and you got to give that number. I'm not taking credit for that. You and your police department can take all the credit. Number what?
In the latest study, we came out, we were ranked the 26th safest municipality in the United States of America.
Yeah, very good. Good job. Nice job. Okay, good. Anything else, anyone? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Good job. Thank you. And to both chiefs who are here, very good job on your budgets. I know you put a lot of time into those too, you and your departments. Thank you. Okay. Finally, number 12, our township attorney is seeking approval of the proposed ordinance number 280, and I'm going to let you explain what that's all about.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This is a relatively routine matter for the Township Board, but we are asked tonight to take action with respect to adopting an ordinance that would allow for Semco Energy to continue to use its easements in the Township for natural gas pipeline transmission. The Township already has, some years ago, I believe 10, passed a similar ordinance with the same company. And again, we are just renewing the ordinance with it. This is something that Semco is doing throughout the state. They paid the township's cost to draft the ordinance and the township's cost to publish the ordinance. So again, regularly routine matter. We see these types of things with electricity, cable TV, and natural gas in our easements.
Yes, Mr. Flynn.
I'd move to adopt and publish ordinance number 280, Section 1, Chapter 27, to be entitled Franchises, Article 1, Sections 27-1 through 28-1 of the Charter Township of Shelby Code of Ordinances.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, seconded by Mr. Viviano. Roll call, unless there are any questions. Go ahead, Mr.
Michael Flynn.
Yes.
Vince Viviano.
Yes.
Linda Wilhelm.
Yes.
Doug Wozniak.
Yes.
Stanley Grotte, yes. Rick Stefficus.
Yes.
And John Vermeulen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now we move to ordinance number 281, Mr. Huth. I guess you're kind of busy here tonight. I see you've requested to consider this new ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Board. The state legislature has changed the law with respect to charges for minor in possession. The way it was before, and someone that's under the age of 21 has consumed any alcohol, any at all, they may be charged with a misdemeanor. What's happened is that this is termed to be quite a hardship on many of our youth as they are carrying a criminal record with them. So the state legislature has changed that to first time someone's charged with that, it may be a civil infraction. Our township enforces many of the state laws, but we can only do so if our local ordinance mimics the state law. So what I'm asking the township board tonight to do is consider this ordinance. It would be similar exactly to state law, that so first-time offenders with minor in possession charges may be charged with a civil infraction as opposed to a misdemeanor.
Depending on the case, could they still get charged as a misdemeanor?
Yes, they could.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Somebody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Wilhelm.
To introduce and publish for the first time ordinance number 281, which amends Chapter 46, Article 4, Division 3 of the Charter Township of Shelby Code of Ordinances by adopting state law changes relating to the possession and consumption of alcohol by persons under the age of 21.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Wilhelm, seconded by Mr. Vermeulen. All those in favor, please, or do we want to do a voice?
We need a roll call.
Oh, sorry.
With, those young folks in the audience, it's a good subject for you to do an essay at school, so pay attention. Linda Wilhelm.
Yes.
John Vermeulen.
Yes.
Vince Viviano.
Yes.
Doug Wozniak.
Yes.
Michael Flynn.
Yes.
Stan Grott, yes, and Rick Stefficus.
Yes, but I'll tell you, the one with the Stars and Stripes suit on, we're going to give him a pass. That is outstanding. But, and I don't blame you for not wanting to come up here, but it is very outstanding. Okay, finally, number 14. Mr. Flynn, you've been on the front lines with respect to this sale, so I'm going to let you handle it.
It used to be back in the day, like 20 years ago, you had to have a building authority in order to enter into a capital project like a new courthouse or a DPW building, something like that. And so at one time there was a building authority for Shelby Township. It's now essentially defunct. We have one person that we could find that would take our calls and is currently alive. So the problem is many of the township properties, including a property that we're going to be closing a deal on here later this month, if all goes well, are listed in the building authority, under the township building authority. So in order to cross a legal T and an I, Mr. Huth suggested that we reconstitute the building authority so that they can quit claim deed all the township properties that date back to the 70s that are titled under the building authority. And at that point, once they've quit claimed them over to the township, officially, from a legal perspective, we can formally dissolve the building authority, which, as I said, has been defunct for a number of years. But we've got to appoint two people to the building authority so we can have a quorum and they can meet. So
how many are on it then, Mike? 5?
It varies. Typically, it's 5. I think ours is 5, but we only need 3 for a meeting. That constitutes a quorum, so we only need to appoint 2 people, and we'll have 3 people, and they can meet. I think their meeting, it's going to be a public meeting, posted for this Thursday. So we found 2 applications, and I would move to appoint Michael Danello and Thomas Holtz as members of the Charter Township Authority Building Authority.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Flynn, supported by Mr. Viviano. Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. That ends our agenda. Now we'll go to township announcements and start with you, Mr. Viviano. And today was a good day.
They opened up the sinkhole today,
Yeah.
and it was a year ago, December 24th. So they beat they did it in quicker than a year. And
How about the budget? Was it
the
under?
budget was $75 million, and they were under budget. And they actually did, Rick, you heard it today too. Was it an additional 3,000 feet of lining or 4,000 feet of lining outside the 300-foot break?
Yeah. And all that still came under budget.
Yes.
Very good.
And it looked great.
Yes, it
Restoration,
did.
everything. So.
And I understand your eyes were the first to acknowledge that there was a problem.
our foreman was out there from the road department. Somebody called him out of catch basin, and he made a phone call to my superintendent and me and said, boy, this is more than a catch basin.
Yeah, it
I
turned
think
out
it's
to
a
be.
sinkhole. That was about 8 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve.
Wow. Okay, so if we need someone to call on Christmas Eve.
Oh, pretty crazy, though.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you for all the good work, Vince. We do appreciate it. Okay, Ms. Wilhelm.
Again, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody Thursday night at Christmas Aglow. We will all be there to enjoy sleigh rides, hot chocolate, and much, much more, and most importantly, to welcome Santa and Mrs. Claus to Shelby Township.
Okay, thanks for the good work. And Mr. Flynn?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Grove.
Yeah, I have a little something here. 8th annual Jingle Bell 5K run. This is our 8th annual Jingle Bell 5K run. The race fees are $30 per person. It's Sunday, December 17th, 2017. Start and finish line at Shelby Township Community Center at 51690 Van Dyke, Shelby Township. Race will start behind the community center building. Building has plenty of room and check-in and plenty of warm restrooms. Overall awards to top male/female master, male/female senior master, male/female, and medals for top 3 in each age group. Registration starts at 7 a.m. in community center building in the back. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Mr. Vermeulen?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I have an announcement. The Cherry Creek Golf Club on Sunday, December 10th, will be holding a Christmas Carol Affair. Join to the world rather than waiting for the carolers to come and knock on your door this holiday season. Bring the family to Cherry Creek and enjoy them with some tasty food. Dressed in colorful Renaissance attire, singing wide range of a cappella traditional Christmas music, the 12th night carolers will be sure to get into you in the holiday spirit. Performance will begin 30 minutes after seating, and the cost is $23.95 for adults. Children to up to 12 are $12.95. And also on Sunday, December 17th, they will be holding a classic Christmas brunch. Ho, ho, ho. Exactly 1 week until the big day. Join Cherry Creek for a breakfast feast fit for Santa himself. The last brunch of the holiday season will include all your favorites and will help keep all your taste buds satisfied for a full day of shopping. Cherry Creek's own Santa Claus will be there to walk around and take any last-minute gift requests.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vermeulen. Mr. Wozniak?
Yes, from the Shelby Township Library, architect and J.L. Hudson Company historian Lucas McCrail returns to the Shelby Township Library to share the history of America's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which was created by the J.L. Hudson Company in 1924. That's Wednesday, December 6th, that's tomorrow, at 7 p.m., no registration required. Secondly, Once Upon a Puppet Holiday Show. Christmas Eve and all the toys have disappeared. Can Jingle the Elf save Christmas? Find out as Once Upon a Puppet presents a Merry Holiday Caper. Saturday, December 16th at 2 p.m., all ages for the family. And thirdly, the Teen Craft Night, Cookies in a Jar. You can make a gift for someone special for the holidays. Choose a cookie mix, decorate a jar, and make a greeting card as an extra handmade touch. Open to teens in the 7th through 12th grades. That's Friday, December 15th at 6 p.m. Registration is required for that. I would say over the last weekend, Shelby Lions went out and did our Christmas basket investigations. The reason I mentioned that, the Lions are just one of many clubs in our area that try to give back during this season. And for those of you out there that don't know, we have areas in Shelby where people really do need help. I mean, when we go to their apartments, they really need food, and that's what we give them, and we try and give the kids some toys. And like I said, this year we've got about 100 families. We get together to do that, and I know there's a lot of other groups out there in Shelby. I mean, the groups are great in Shelby. You know, if you get involved with them, they're always out there doing something. So just try and remember them. If you can contribute either money or time, just do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wozniak. I've just got one announcement. It's a little lengthy, but it's really good stuff here. Students across the nation are recognizing Computer Science Education Week December 4th through December 8th of this week. Computer Science Education Week is held annually in recognition of the birthday of computing pioneer Admiral Grace Murray Hopper back in 1906. Here are several media story ideas, unique experiences offered by the Utica Community Schools students to promote computer science. The first idea is a 360-degree filmmakers challenge with digital promise. Utica Community Schools is among only 5 communities taking part in a grant-funded partnership with Digital Promise that uses virtual reality and 360-degree video to create important community messages. And through the partnership, UCS received 360-degree video production equipment and ongoing support, including professional filmmaker mentors. And the league is a group of 100 educational leaders from across the country supporting the effective use of technology in classrooms. Another idea, Girls Who Code. UCS schools throughout the district are establishing Girls Who Code clubs. The free offer after school club continues the district's work to address a gender gap in technology programs, and the club promotes computer science and its global impact. Another idea is a Center of Excellence for Virtual Reality. UCS was named the Midwest's only Center of Excellence for its innovation in leadership and providing students with lifelike and virtual reality, or VR, in classrooms by Z-Space Incorporated, a Silicon company, education company. The district has virtual reality technology in 4 elementary schools, sharing the school leaders nationwide its firsthand experiences and best practices for incorporating AR/VR activities. And it goes on, but I just want to mention a couple other ideas. Expanding opportunities through Code.org partnership. UCS was the first Michigan school district to partner with Code.org to integrate coding lessons in elementary media programs and expand programs for secondary students. I know my kids were very big into this, and boy, when you have this and math going for you, the doors open for scholarships are just immense. But anyway, this school year, the district introduced a course at 3 junior high schools that allows students to explore introductory concepts of coding and computer science called Computer Science Discoveries. And finally, Hour of Code media centers throughout the district will take part in the International Hour of Code, a global movement reaching tens of millions of students in 180 countries. The Hour of Code is a 1-hour set of computer science activities designed to demystify code and show that anyone can learn the basics. And as I said, once these skills are introduced to students, they go on and just do amazing things. I know at the University of Michigan Space Center, there's interns that they take every year. Michigan State, same thing. And it's just, I think this is an incredible program. And I say my hat's off to UCS for instituting all of these programs. Okay. Now it's time for business from the floor. We conduct township business here consistent with the way a business meeting is handled. Here, each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss business that is relevant to the operation of our terrific township. Who wants to go first? Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening, everybody. I'd really like to congratulate everybody today. Supervisor Mrs. Statigas, all the trustees, our attorney, Mr. Huth. This whole session was run so perfectly. I like the way all the questions were answered and how you all worked together in making sure that everybody's questions were answered. It was great. I thought it was one of actually better meetings. I mean, I've been to a lot of them, but I just got a really good feel about how things were done today. And then, like I say, I'd like to congratulate everybody. And Mr. Wozniak, I know I didn't know I was going to wear our Michigan State sweatshirt today.
You're forgiven.
Only thing I'm mad about is that Michigan State could have got a better bowl bid, but we'll see who wins, which Michigan or Michigan States wins their bowl bids.
Yeah, I don't know how that
Yeah,
worked
you got
out.
him so far.
Yeah.
Go green, Kenny. Go green.
So if Michigan would have won one more game, they would not have been a New Year's Day? Is that how? No, I'm kidding. I don't get into that. Okay, a lot of discussion, though, no doubt about it. Okay, who wants to go next? Yes, sir, in the back with a hat.
Supervisor, Board of Trustees. Boy, the board is really good with our monies by approving additional funds for the different committees. And it's amazing that we're starting to get ahead of above water, and they're blowing money like there's no tomorrow. One thing, too, I have to remind our citizens here, Amazon's moving into Shelby Township. But remember, folks, they're not paying any taxes. We are through our taxation. They're getting our services. We are paying services. They're not paying for anything on that. A second thing regarding Amazon, I was in the area yesterday. The wind was blowing. With all that contaminated soil, it was blowing all across 23 Mile into the Public Works Department and also the fire station. With this dust blowing, normally if anything like that happens, you check with Mr. Huth, they normally spray the water on that to keep the dust from blowing. And I'll tell you, it was like a dust storm. And over at the bank, they said that happens continually. One thing, too, have you considered a replacement for Brad Bates? I mean, there's more money that's going out the door. Do we need another person like that? And a question to Mr. Huth. Several years ago, your company supplied an ordinance sheet that you put on the window to keep these peddlers from going to our doors. Are they still available? Mine's kind of faded out. And I don't know if they're still available or not. Okay, I'm going to have to get one then. That's about it. I just want to remind our people that Amazon's not paying any taxes. We are through our taxes.
Okay, well, first of all, you said that we're just getting our head above water. Actually, that's not true. In 2000 and before we arrived in 2008, the new board, Mr. Wozniak and Mr. Flynn, help me out if you want to, but we had inherited two deficit spending years. We were below budget in 2006 and 2007. We took over in 2008, and ever since, our head has been above water. We have initiated surpluses every single year. And the only reason you may see a dip of something less than a surplus is because we've actually taken money out of the fund to put in our capital improvement fund so that we could do things like build a court, get ready for that, and we're getting ready to fund the capital improvement fund too for the new library/senior center, and also we're going to be expanding the police department. So we've got a lot of things happening, but the only reason we're able to even talk about these things is because our head is above water, and as I said in the beginning, we will absorb a recession. Even if we spend the money that we want to on infrastructure improvements, we will actually be absorbing any recession that comes about. We're ready for it. Contaminated soil being blown around? No, that's not true. The contaminated soil has been taken care of. What they're doing now is digging below the ground for pipes, concrete, and going far below the soil for that. But you mentioned about Amazon not paying taxes. That's not true either. Now, Mr. Vermeulen, if you want to explain a little more about Amazon, do you have that information?
Yes.
Okay.
For years, the old Vistian plant has been one of the community's top goals. Prior to Amazon coming to light, our best hope for this parcel was outdoor storage. And thanks to Amazon, we have significantly improved on that hope. Amazon is building a 1 million square foot high-tech innovative distribution center in Shelby Township on a 90-acre site that will generate a minimum of 1,100 new full-time jobs with benefits. Amazon will pay all of the property taxes they should under the plan. The cost of remediation will be paid by the property owner, which is identified in the plan as Hillwood Enterprises LP, but was formed as 23 Mile Commerce Center Project LLC. All of Amazon's tax revenue for 20 years for Shelby Township, Macomb County Community College, the Huron-Clinton Metro Parks Authority, SMART, and the Macomb Veterans millage rates will be used to repay the property owner until the eligible remediation costs are repaid until 20 years elapse, whichever happens first. So we are not in this alone. Also, only about 41% of the taxes in the building will go to repay the property owner for the eligible remediation expenses. The other 59% will still go to the state education tax, and importantly, the Utica Community Schools benefit from this.
Can you say that again? I want to make sure everybody understands that. What's the percentage?
The other 59% will still go to the state education tax and to the Utica Community Schools and the Macomb Zoo Society and Art Institute. Our schools are very important to the health of this community and to our investment as property owners. It's absolutely critical because nobody who is going to bring their kids into the community without excellent schools. These taxes will not be captured to repay the property owner. The estimate in this plan has the remediation cost at around $9.1 million. The remediation plan does take into consideration that they will apply for a tax abatement so that the site and the $9.1 million in the cost will be fully repaid in the 19th year of the 20th year brownfield term. So it's a bit confusing overall, but very good news for the township is this project will make it possible for this site to be completely demolished and cleaned up and returned from a highly unproductive property to an economic environmental asset to the community. Furthermore, Shelby Township and the local government entities will be collecting local tax revenue after said remediation costs. It is very exciting to welcome the world's #1 commerce operation to our township. I am very proud of the endorsement of this project, and it symbolizes, too. This project shows the rest of the world that Shelby Township has the service, infrastructure, and ability to assist continued growth in the success of Amazon.
Okay, thank you for that. And the other question you had, thank you, Mr. Vermeulen. Also, Chelsea Orland is my new deputy supervisor, but yeah, I have to have one person in my office. I know when I arrived in 2008, I had 2 people plus a third one that was going to be hired, so I had 3 people. What I did is said, no, I only need 1. So I've been saving about $75,000, $80,000 a year by only having 1 person. When my deputy supervisor left me, Brad Bates, it left a hole, and I would have been by myself. I would like to do everything myself, but I really do need that support. Going from 3 to 2 was, I could see that maybe not happening, but going from 3 to 1, definitely I thought we could make that happen, and we did. But having 0, that's not possible at this point. Someday, maybe I'll be replaced by, we have KUKA next door. They're making all these robots. I don't know, but right now I do need that head, and I don't want to call her head. I mean, I need somebody to support me. So, but thank you for asking. I do appreciate that. Okay.
One more, the sticker.
Oh, the stickers. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there's a question.
The sticker.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
I apologize.
The sticker is, we have stickers at the clerk's office, but it's more than a sticker. There's an ordinance, and it's called no-knock ordinance. That means the folks that want to go door to door and sell stuff, they have to come into clerk's office and request a list. They cannot go to the homes that people are exempt, that people call clerk's office and say, I want to be put on that list. The only exemption is nonprofit, religious, and political. These folks can still go door to door without any problem. But there is no solicitation ordinance on books. And if you want the sticker, we got plenty of stickers, but also request from my office to be put on the no-knock list. That will get you on the list where no salespeople will be bothering you at the door. Thank you.
Do one of you students have your hands up, or were you just stretching? Just stretching. Okay, good enough. I'm still trying to get that guy up here. Okay, anyone else tonight? Yes, sir.
Gary Galassa, Shelby Township, Dictator Stathicus. Before I start my prepared statement, I'd like to comment on your giddiness, hypocrisy, as it's reflected in the clothing of that young man from Utica Schools. Flag burning, flag desecration, as in clothing, was illegal until the Supreme Court ruled those things are protected speech under the First Amendment of the Constitution. Texas v. Johnson, 1989. My prepared statement. Dictator Stathicus Board. 2 meetings ago, the proceedings were started with each trustee reading a pre-transcribed informative note. What a dog and pony show that was. It must appear even to you, Herr Stathicus, the useless nature of these trustees. Did you need to justify their existence? Do you see the vacuous look in their eyes? Have you noticed how they vote in lockstep with you? Only 4 dissenting votes in over 1 year. Township residents, do you feel you're being ruled by an oligarchy? Give me liberty or give me death. No taxation without representation. Are these the words of angry men or of patriots, Mr. Supervisor? Please diagnose this, because you have the proclivity for calling out people for something you are ineptly prepared to do. I don't see a PhD in psychology nor an MD in psychiatry when you speak from that position. That would be like me calling you out to be a dunce, a cretin, or just a boob without having seen your IQ test results. I'd like to address the query to our legal people here. 2 attorneys, can you define in 10 words or less the purpose of the United States Constitution? I don't really think Wozniak knows. And Mr. Huth, will you answer me the same way you did in the email? I will not be commenting on this matter when it's a question of free speech. I guess I'll tell the audience, it limits the power of government over its citizens. So how do you two explain your sworn oath to uphold the Constitution if you're not even cognizant of its purpose? A tyrant as a supervisor, a spineless board members, and trustees out for their own gain. That's our elected governance in Shelby. Still a great place to live, but for how much longer and at what cost? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I think you've proven that we have freedom of speech here. You can come up and say pretty much anything you want. So I don't really want to respond to any of that. I'm not going to get engaged in any of that. But I just want to say one thing, and my wife will support me in this. I'm not even close to a PhD. So anyway, I don't know where so I don't know where all this stuff comes from. Okay, who wants to go next? Anybody else? Is that it for tonight? Okay, Mr. Churchill, I guess that's it. Oh, did you want to come up too, sir? No? Okay, okay, good.
So you're going to look for a motion to adjourn after Mr. Churchill?
No, we got one more after Mr. Churchill, then we'll adjourn.
Ron Churchill, Mound Road. Yeah, I want to talk about freedom of speech. I want to talk about this 3-minute rule that we have. 3 minutes, whether there's one agenda item or 22 agenda items like there was one time. And we don't have the right to come up here and ask our question and wait for an answer. We have to go sit back down. We lose the right to respond to your answer. You call that freedom of speech? Hell no. What's the matter with you people? I've asked you people 3 times on the air whether you can honestly say that is a reasonable time, 3 minutes, whether it's one agenda item or 22. Not one of you have answered, except John Vermillion over there. I know there's some young people in the back from Utica.
Is it enough? 3 minutes enough?
I'm challenging you young millennials in the back to come up here, and I'd like to hear your opinion, whether you really believe that 3 minutes is a reasonable time. You're probably aware of what's going on in this country. This country has gone down a rat hole that it won't get out of and probably will be communist in 10 years or less, the way it's going. You young millennials in the back need to wake up to what's going on in this country, because in just a few short years, this country is going to be yours. And I hate to see what kind of country this is going to be that you're going to have to live in. You need to start taking charge now. We need to get these politicians out of office that want to whittle away at our rights, chisel away at them one little piece at a time.
30 seconds.
This is exactly how communism starts. If you people in the back want to really learn something and maybe do a paper and do some research and really get some extra credit for something, I challenge you to give me a call. My number is 731-8679. That's 731-8679. If you want to really learn something, give me a call.
Time's up, sir.
I don't have the time to tell you all about it up here because my time is limited. But
You're
I'm
right.
telling
Time's
you,
up.
this is
Thank
some
you very
heavy
much.
Stuff.
Appreciate it.
Heavy stuff. And
Okay,
will
thank you.
actually
Thank you so
learn
much for
something.
coming in. And now we'll go to the next person. Let me just say a couple of things. Students, go ahead. No, go ahead and be seated.
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, you want to discourage them from coming up here.
That's my
because
first
you
warning.
might be afraid of what they might say.
Okay, come on. Sit down, please. Sit down. Just leave, please. Thank you.
You want to silence them. You want to silence us. You
Fine.
want to silence everybody.
Sir, please
You
sit
don't
down.
want nobody to be here.
Please don't make me remove you.
This
just
is the
leave.
New World Order taking form.
That's my second warning. If you want to shut the camera off, please, for just a couple of minutes, we'll take a break.
Shove that
Thank you.
gavel up. And I hope everybody in this township hears me.
Sorry.
You ought to lock them up one time, they'll quit.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you millennials in the back. I feel sorry for you, and I pray for you that this country changes.
This is discouraging.
Because if it doesn't, I hope you enjoy living in communism, because that's exactly where it's going.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, you saw a little bit of the live. You saw a little bit of this in live action. I really apologize for all of this. And we have had extraordinary patience in trying to tell Mr. Churchill that he just simply had to leave. He did receive 2 warnings. To the students in the back, I just want you to know our meetings are not like this every 2 weeks. I do apologize to you, especially because I don't know if you've been here before, but I also want to apologize to everybody watching this meeting. We almost adjourned, but we decided not to because the meeting was off camera, but we were very close in just adjourning the meeting. But because Mr. Churchill is out of here, we will continue the meeting. And I think we've got one more person, you, Mr. Turner, and go ahead, you're next. Okay. And before you start, can you please, hold on, can somebody be the timekeeper?
Yeah, I'll keep the time.
Okay, I want to make sure we have a timekeeper, and also I want to let you know that you had to be removed from the meeting 2 weeks ago as well.
Mind
and
with the
sir,
rhetoric.
That's my first warning.
Never
that's my
mind
first
with the
meeting.
rhetoric.
Please don't interrupt.
And don't interrupt me. It's my time, not yours.
No, this is my time right now. Your time has not started yet. So you have been warned one time. So please don't interrupt again. Now let me finish what I'm going to say.
You're interrupting me.
This is my time. If you interrupt me one more time, then I'm going to ask you to leave. Now, what I want to say is you, 2 weeks ago, were asked to leave, and you did not. Finally, you did, but it was an interruption to the meeting, and I'm asking you, please don't repeat that again. Now your time starts, and no one will interrupt you. 3 minutes starting now. Thank you.
I want to ask again why the Treasury Agency fund account and the travel card, credit card expenses are not online. You said at one time that there was too many items, too many vendors on there to be put on the line. Yet the bill runs of today that you approved has 482 vendors on there. I ask this. Is the Treasury Agency fund account got more than 482 vendors on it? Has the Treasury, the charge card account have more than 482 items on it? I don't think so. I think your definition of transparency is more like the Iron Curtain. You don't want to put it up there because here we got some expenses that I want to point out. Travel refreshments, 21 for the police department. Why are the township residents happen to pay for refreshments for the police department on traveling? And we have a travel expense again here on the bill runs in the police department for $312. These are just 2 examples of the kind of vendors that are on the Treasury Agency fund account expenses and the charge card expenses. And I dare you to put those expenses online. I don't know why you want to hide these expenses from the taxpayers, but we're the ones that are paying for them. And if they've got more than 482 vendors on each one of these accounts, can you imagine how many dollars are being spent that the general public doesn't know where they're being spent? Because you're hiding them in the Treasury Agency fund account and in the charge card account. These accounts hide most of the township lodging expenses, travel expenses, membership expenses, and many other personal expenses for township employees. And
30 seconds.
Put them online, most of the people will have an idea just exactly how much the bill runs are for a period of 1 month. Now, these bill runs here that you approved tonight are $378,429 is one of the cheapest bill runs that ever went through here in the last 3 months, maybe longer. Most of the bill runs have been $1 million plus.
Time's up, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Okay, we've got one more, and I just want to say there's no hiding of anything. Every expense, every number we have is open to everyone. And one more time, Mr. Flynn.
I guess this pattern tonight, I'm noticing it from last week. There's some of these folks in the audience have literally run out of truthful things to discuss, so they're just making it up as they go. We've said for the last 2 or 3 meetings that the Treasurer's Agency and credit cards are posted on the website by the township clerk. Either he doesn't know how to use a computer or he likes getting up here and trying to intentionally mislead the public. But Mr. Grote puts all that stuff on the internet.
Okay, yes, in the back. And you'll be the last one, and then I'll ask for a motion. Mike, can you?
I was really amazed to see how you guys decided that land property owners outweighs the residents. And even you, Stan, you said the guy was going to pay more than 90%. How come he didn't pay 100%? Why didn't you guys force that? Instead, you put it on the taxpayers. The non-resident, non-tax-paying developer evades all that, doesn't he, Dick? By the way, you fired how many people so that you could give your friend a big cushy job at $78K? I was wondering because you said it was going to be a cost savings. Does that include audio? A few times I've turned on ShelbyTV, there was no sound. You had the bulletin boards, but no music. Must have been a cost savings there, right? Of course, you guys are used to paying big bucks for people who don't perform. In their right, Stan. You hire a high school diplomaed fella at $55,000 a year. So I guess $78K for this guy not being able to turn on the audio switch is okay. And you, Mikey, telling these people that you aren't going to give them a lower rate for something they don't want because it's your policy, which means that you're inflexible, right? There's no flexibility. You can't support the people of the township, the people you took an oath, that all of you took an oath to support and guide and protect. How did it protect anybody tonight? You didn't, did you? You're all just a bunch of failures. You all deserve to be fired. But we can't fire you, right? Well, we can. We can go for a recall election. We can use our 3 minutes here to start telling each other what we need to come up with in order to get you guys. Because they tried to recall Down and Warren, it didn't work. His racist nonsense fell on deaf ears because the electorate said, well, he's not breaking any laws. Well, let's prove you guys have broken your oaths to us. Time and again, you've broken your oaths to us. You sold out all the old people so that you could get a contractor in. Now tell me, that property down there by Shaner and Hall isn't going to be worth something in the next 10 years. Let's see how many people are living there after the township developed it as a sanctuary.
30 seconds.
For our old people, our low-cost people, people who needed our help. You guys decided to sell them out at a profit to a contractor, as you've supported contractors every time. Oh, did I raise my voice? Sorry, Dick. Didn't know I was shouting. Butthead.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in, and my name is, just so you know, Rick, and that's what my friends call me, and you can call me Richard. Is there anyone that would like to come up? Anyone at all? Okay, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, seconded by Mr. Wozniak. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting's adjourned. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody.